What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to another Fall Obsession podcast episode. My name is Sam Thrash, and I'm your show host over here at Fall Obsession. Thank you guys for tuning in to another one of our podcast episodes. Always appreciate you supporting Fall Obsession. This week, our guests are Maddy and Britton Wasmer. They are content creators and experts at their craft when it comes to hunting and outdoor media production. They work for a lot of big brands in the industry with photography and videography projects, and then they're also doing some of their own stuff. Got some awesome YouTube videos coming out and that kind of stuff, but always enjoy it when I get to hop on here and interact and get to know other media production experts and content creators in the industry and kind of understand how they do things, what they look for with some things, and then just talk hunting in general and stuff. And we share a lot of common passions and stuff when it comes to deer hunting and western hunting and all that good stuff. So hope you guys enjoy this episode. It's a great one, especially if you guys yourselves are interested in producing your own hunting and outdoor content, whatever that looks like. Hope you guys continue listening and tuning to this one. But before we get to the episode, you guys know the drill. Hoot Camo is a podcast partner over here at Fall Obsession. The guys down here at Hoot, they manufacture camouflage, both the pattern and the gear itself. We truly, truly love our Hoot Camo, some of the best quality gear that we've worn in a long time. And it's at a price point that's affordable for the blue-collar hunter like you and me, which is why we love it even more. We all know how hard it can be to save up, especially in today's day and age, for a good quality set of camo. And Hoot makes that a little bit more doable, and you're going to get the best quality gear out there, in my opinion. I've worn Hoot stuff in Colorado, in the snow, in Texas, in the wintertime with the wind and a tree stand blowing on me, and it has held up outstanding. There's not even a thread loose on my Hoot gear. I'm not even kidding about that. And I've put that stuff through the ringer. There's no doubt about that. So, and the pattern is multi functional and has a lot of different purpose behind it as far as the environments that it itself adapts to. So, definitely recommend that you guys go check out Hoot Camo, hootcamo.com. And if you want to place an order, whether it's for a new set of gear or even just a hat, a t-shirt, one of their hoodies that are on sale right now, you can do that from there and use the code FALLOBSESSION15 to save yourself some money. So Hoot Camo, go check them out. Ridge Rock Hunt Company is another podcast partner. Derek Eves over there in Mississippi. He books hunts with vetted outfitters across the country. He'll set you up with somebody that he knows and trusts. So if you're looking to book that next adventure, perhaps that once-in-a-lifetime hunt, give Derek a call. He'll work with you on all the details and find something that works for you. Ridge Rock Hunt Company, go check them out. The Outdoor Call Radio app is also a podcast partner. Outdoors Dan from Respect the Game TV, he has created an app that you can download on any device where you can stream hunting shows and podcasts on a loop every single day. You will catch Fall Obsession podcast streaming on that loop on Mondays, the same day as our new publications, as well as tons of other hunting shows and podcasts that we all know and love. So go download the Outdoor Call Radio app today. It is free. You can start streaming immediately. And go follow Outdoors Dan on social media. He does a couple of different live shows at local Midwestern radio stations every week. And even if you're not local to one of those stations, he shares those live broadcasts on his Facebook. So be sure that you're following him on social media and go download the Outdoor Call Radio app today. Finally, thank you guys for listening to another Fall Obsession podcast episode. Whatever platform you're listening or streaming on, please be sure that you are following us, subscribe to us, have those notifications turned on, all that good stuff. Follow us on all the major social media platforms and go to fallobsession.com. Check out the website, maybe pick you up a hat or a shirt, support a small-time hunting brand. And don't forget about our turkey hunt competition that is going on right now during the spring of 2024. You can hunt from anywhere. Just hunt turkeys normally, basically, is what it comes down to. And you can enter in the contest, register to win when you kill a bird. A lot of awesome prizes, cash pots you guys can take home. We're giving away gear. We're giving away memberships. We got a bunch of different stuff, a side raffle going on. So head on over to our website. It's all over the website. You can't miss it. And go check out the turkey hunt competition if you plan on hunting turkeys this year. All right, that wraps up the introduction to this episode. I hope you guys enjoy my conversation with Maddy and Britton. You are listening to another Fall Obsession podcast.
Oh, you got her, dude. She's down. Let's go. dude, I just shot a deer of a lifetime.
Freaking smoked him.
One with nature, and if you're a believer, one with God.
Definitely gets your heart pumping. Boy, you are in trouble.
Fall Obsession Podcast.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to another Fall Obsession Podcast episode. My name is Sam, hosting you guys once again, and my guests this week are Britton and Maddy Wasmer. How you doing, guys? Welcome to the show.
Good, man. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Well, I'm excited to podcast with y'all and glad we were able to connect and make it work. But for our listeners, if you guys wouldn't mind, just give us a little introduction about yourself and tell us, what you guys do and where y'all are from, all that good stuff.
Yep. So my name's Britton. We're from West Virginia, born and raised. We have a passion for the outdoors and big into photography.
Yeah, bow hunting is our passion, and then you mix that with our work life, which is high quality photo and video content, and we pretty much work our dream job every day. We get to hunt and do photo shoots.
That is awesome. So I wanna dive into it a little bit because there's, especially in today's day and age, there are so many people looking to find a niche or find an avenue for themselves or their own brand, however you want to look at it, in the hunting and outdoor space. So how did I know you guys undoubtedly have a background in hunting with all this, but how did you guys find your way down this path for media production?
So I guess I'll start first.
Yeah.
So I've been doing photography for 13 years now. I started out doing like senior pictures, like weddings, and then I went to ATA actually, and I saw a lot of the photography in the hunting industry, and I thought like everything looked like it was like 5 years behind the times. Like some of the images were kind of just outdated on like how they were portraying these big brands. Like I felt like they're pretty major brands that had like subpar, kind of photography. So I started, showing people my portfolio, and it seemed like once one company got on board, like Hoyt, it seemed like all the other companies, got on board as well once they started seeing my style of photography, and they've kind of transitioned into a lot of video work as well. And I typically shoot a lot. Maddy shoots as well, but she does a lot of the editing on the back end, side of things. So.
Gotcha.
I had my own photography business, and then I met Britton, who had his own photography business. And so then we just kind of collaborated, and it all just made sense. And it's really efficient now. I'm like, I don't know how people do it if you're a one-man team, because having two people is so much better.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So where did your I don't want to say interest, but getting into editing and everything like that, because did you take any classes or just over the course of that journey, how did you get to where you felt like you were comfortable doing? Because I've watched y'all's content and everything. It's awesome. And I'm curious how editors get to that point where they, can put together a production like that, because I myself, I'm one of two guys that do editing on our content, and I've picked up bits and pieces from, this over here, that over there, but for the most part, just over the past, 15 years, I'm self-taught for the most part, and learning from my own mistakes and taking stuff from, I see things other people like, but I'm curious, how you grew and developed in that particular area.
Yeah, so when I had my own photography business, I really mastered Lightroom. That was my main editing software. And then it got to the point where I started making and selling my own presets, and I kind of like maxed out of that potential. And then when I met Britton, his photography blows me out of the water. So I was like, okay, there's no need for me, there's no need for two of us there. So doing the video side, I was like, looking for like where is my niche? What is my place here? And on the video side, he had other videographers that he was hiring, to help him and edit his videos. And I was like, well, that's not that hard. I could probably do that. Like, I'm pretty creative. I have an eye for stuff. And from there, I was all self-taught. I watch a lot of YouTube videos. We actually spend a lot of our free time just watching music videos. Like I like to, like most people go home and chill and just watch a movie or, whatever you do. And like I watch like movies, but like I don't really pay attention to the movie. I just am like, ooh, that's like, how did they film that?
Yep.
Notice how they brought like the ending together, like we just, when you have an eye for that kind of stuff, you start to pick up on it. And then I kind of get inspiration and I, keep all that stuff. And I'm like, I'm gonna add that to my next video. And people scroll Instagram like just for fun, and I scroll it looking for hot audios and real ideas and just content creation opportunities. So all self-taught, but I think it's just a lot of motivation to be good at something, and you don't really have to go to school for it. You can find out anything on YouTube, pretty much.
Yeah, YouTube University they call it.
Yeah.
That's what I would suggest, honestly. I mean, it might not be, what's the word I'm looking for? Like,
Typical.
yeah, I guess not your typical route, but in like my opinion, like I'd rather bet on myself. And, if it's something that I truly want to pursue, I want to learn it. And I think that you'll,
When you're passionate about something, you work harder for it.
Yes.
When you're just forced to learn it. Like if
Right.
you go to school for something.
and you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Like once you're burnt out of it, if it's something that you really want to do, I think you'll actually, truly pursue it. And like, it's kind of better when there is no backup plan.
Yeah.
I mean, you started out, you worked for a company that was like, are you sure you want to pursue this? Are you sure it's really hard to own your own business. And it's like, and then she's like, yeah, I do. And then never looked back. And it was like within the first 30 to 60 days, you landed 2 contracts on your own.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's normal is a 9 to 5.
Right.
And it's the scary part is, being willing to walk away from benefits, a 401k, something guaranteed.
That's
like
quote unquote safe.
Yeah,
it's, like,
it's very safe. It's human
Yeah.
nature to want to know what you're going to do tomorrow, And I was like, my worst case scenario is like, if I fail, I'll just go, like, I'll go get a job. Like, I have a degree, I'm smart and I'm motivated. Like, I can do anything. And I'm like, my worst case scenario is everybody else is normal. So I'm like, it can't be that bad.
Yeah. No, that's a great way to look at it for sure. Because yeah, once you, like you said, once you take that safety blanket away, your passion and your drive and everything has to shine through. And there's plenty of folks that are still grinding away at it. There's plenty of folks that haven't made it yet, and it's good to see people be successful at it, and capitalizing on something that their passion
it
is.
kind of comes down to like, how bad do you want it? It's like,
Yeah.
how bad do you want to, be successful, or how bad do you want to pursue your own route, And I think the world needs more of that type of stuff. Pursue your passions and enjoy doing it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So West Virginia, born and raised, but one quick look at y'all's social media, you see mule deer and all these other hunting adventures and that kind of stuff. So what's a typical these days? What's a typical year or season look like for you guys? What's the grind like?
Yeah, really.
Do we even know? It's like tomorrow it's different.
It's super fast paced, and it's just like, we roll to Florida next week. Then we're, our year's like virtually completely booked out. But from September to December, like our books are virtually closed besides our main clients. But from September to December, we're nonstop hunting. So
a lot of times it depends on what we draw for is, what our
Right.
schedule can take us. But yeah, we pretty much have our calendar lined out like September hunting, October hunting, November hunting. And so, but yeah, we're all over the place.
we ended up drawing Arizona kaibab tags this past season.
Oh, wow.
And we went to the kaibab for 2 weeks, and we tagged out on 2 really good bucks. You guys will have to check out the video whenever this launches. But it's on Maddie's YouTube. I think it has like
25,000 or more.
Yeah, over 25,000 views. It's our first YouTube video, so it did pretty good for the very first
Yeah.
one. And
Awesome.
we killed 2 really good bucks, and it was velvet, So it was an awesome adventure, and it got a lot of some of our best, landscape and animal shots, to date were from that trip. So
Yeah, it's beautiful out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Is deer hunting out west? Is that one of y'all's most favorite things to do, or what are some of your most enjoyable experiences you've gotten to do so far?
I would say I fell in love with mule deer hunting. If I lived out there, I would pursue that a lot. Um, I would say probably my most enjoyable experience was axis deer in Hawaii.
yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, all hunting's fun, and I don't think there's anything that tops being out in the woods, but as far as like, what takes it to the next level, we went to Hawaii last year and chased axis deer with our bow, and that was just totally different. Like you can't you can't prepare for that here. You got to go somewhere where they are, and it was really cool.
Yeah, Axis, they're on point. So the Emperor of Japan um, gave them to the people of Hawaii as a gift. And so they imported them from India, which in India they're previously hunted by tigers. So hunting Axis is like kind of hunting a whitetail, but with like turkey vision, like every single
It's kind of
movement.
like a herd of elk. Like there's like typically when you're whitetail hunting,
Two or three
a
deer.
handful of deer might come in at a time,
Yeah.
but like the axis, there's like a herd of 100, 60 to 100 at all times.
Oh wow.
And you can't be, one sees you or smells you,
They all start
they
barking.
bark, and then they all start barking, and they just scramble. And so it's like you got to be really keen to get close enough in bow range.
Wow. Do y'all hunt primarily with archery equipment? And looking at your wall, I would assume so, but
No, we don't. We do archery.
Yeah. Probably 90% of what we do is archery.
Yeah, that's our passion. I mean, we gun hunt too. I mean,
We're not against
I
it.
hunt with whatever I have a tag for, but
Yeah.
we prefer archery hunting. It's just our passion.
yeah. I got to experience western mule deer hunting for my first time last season with a bow, and I definitely can say that I'm hooked. I'm
There's
good.
something about it.
I know I'm good for one out of state hunt a year is what I personally do. And so next year it's actually going to be elk, but I'm definitely going to be back in that mule deer grind before too long because that was an incredible experience. I loved it.
Let us know where you go. We might not be too far,
Yeah.
from you. So
Yeah, for
But we're-
sure.
I want to try Nebraska. I haven't hunted Nebraska yet. My buddy said he ran into a bunch of big mule deer in Nebraska just on public land, and uh, but he was hunting whitetails. So that in Nebraska they have both whitetails and mule deer. And man, he was passing giant mule deer because he was looking for a respectable whitetail. And I was just like, man, there's no way. I don't know who I would say I have if I had to weigh the two between a big giant mule deer or a giant whitetail, especially a big mature whitetail,
I wouldn't want to choose.
I would probably have to say whitetail.
Britton is hooked on whitetail, which who isn't, but that's his for sure number one.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, like our buddies, he lives in big mule deer country. So to him, he was super pumped just to shoot like a 130s, 140s whitetail, which is a great buck. But he was passing like 180s, 190
Oh,
No, he
mule
said
deer.
like saw some 200-inch mule deer. And I was
200s.
like, there's no way I'd pass a 200-inch.
But to him, a whitetail hunt like that is he doesn't get that experience all the time.
Yeah.
So he was just like he wasn't interested in the mule deer, and I was like, bro, you don't know what you're passing up because I would never pass up a 190s for 130s.
No way. No, we actually hunted in eastern Colorado, like northeastern Colorado is where we went, and it's flat land out there. It's rifle country is what it is. But we went out there and grind away with a golly, I can't talk with a bow. We were so close to Nebraska that actually the house we were staying in, you could look down the street and see Nebraska. That's how close we were. And yeah, there were whitetail and mule deer and everything out there. And yeah, it's just I went out there. I had a deer tag, so I could kill either one. But I told the buddy I was going with, I was like, hey, mule deer is I've never hunted mule deer, so that's my go-to. I was like, I know you got big whitetails out here, but I can kill a whitetail in Texas. So,
Right.
but yeah, whitetail, I've grown up on that. That's my passion too, for sure. I'll always go back to that, if you will. And I'm probably a little bit too, I don't know if passionate's the right word, maybe greedy's better as far as, what I'm willing to take right now, because we've been managing our own place for the past several years and everything, and I've passed some nice bucks in doing so, and the one still haunts me. I should have shot him, but I've
Yeah,
trying to kill the big ones.
We all have that like one
Yeah.
that got away. Sometimes I'm like staring out the window and Britton's like, "What are you thinking about?" And I'm like, "That one time, that one buck." And like it
That-
still plays in my head.
We won't talk about that. So, like, I mean, every bit of 200-inch mule deer, it saw her draw
I thought we weren't going to talk about it.
at 40. Well, we're here now.
We're here now. Here we go.
At 41 yards, and then like she got halfway drawn perfect, and he didn't bust, and then she tried to rush the last part, and then he busted, and I was just like, oh no.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that like in our mule deer Arizona Kaibab video, like there was a lot of failures too. You know, I think like in my next video, I'm going to try to do a better job of showing more of the failures. Like I kind of wanted to keep this video like entertaining and upbeat and energetic, but I was like, it's very realistic to also fail a lot. And like, to one success is probably like, 10 failures.
The 10 stops.
Stories, about the times it didn't work out and the times you went out and didn't see a thing and, got busted. So, but yeah, there was a time where I got really close to a 200 and he had already seen me. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to try to draw, because if he runs and I don't even try, then I'm going to be mad that I didn't try. So I was like, he's already looking straight at me. So I'm like, I'm going to try. And I think my just adrenaline kind of took over, and I should have been a little bit more calm with the draw. I think if I would have eased it up pretty good, he might have stayed there. But I kind of got to right here, and when I was looking through my like sight with the crosshairs on him, I think I got excited and I was just went from here to, and it was enough to just be like, okay, I'm out of here.
You mean the pins?
Yeah. You get excited.
Yeah, I know the feeling for sure. And yeah, those ones, they stick with you for a while. No doubt about that. And now I can only imagine on a deer of that caliber. But
that moment of like, don't mess this up, mess this up, because I've never chased deer of that caliber before. That, if it would have been a 130s whitetail around here that I see all the time, I would have, been like, if it works out, great. If it doesn't, I'll get another chance,
Yeah. So you guys, you mentioned the more recency behind the YouTube channel and the videos that y'all are putting on there. I know y'all have been working in the video and photo area of the outdoor industry for a lot of different brands, it sounds like, with various clients, but are y'all just now kind of starting to kind of define your own brand with the content you're putting online?
I would say, I mean, his page FST Outdoors has a pretty big following, but we just haven't been on YouTube.
Yeah.
And so YouTube is a pretty new thing for us that we've started to tackle. But I would say, I don't know, maybe you could answer that question better than I could.
Yeah, I mean, YouTube's more your realm. I think filming, I'm not really on social as much as I should be, because you get on to me about it all the time. It's like I'm not on it as much as I should be, but I also want to be showcasing our work, because we are proud of what we do, and we enjoy doing it. But I do need to be on there more. But when it's your full-time job,
it doesn't seem as fun. It's not as fun to play on Instagram when it's your job.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're kind of more like, we're not really influencers. So we don't like, it's not, we don't have to post a lot. We're more like content creators. So we're creating content for other companies, not really for ourselves.
Right.
So.
But we get to go on hunts in the meantime.
So I think I've kind of started to do more of the like influencer creation by doing a personal YouTube and posting more in that direction. But yeah, I guess to answer your question, like we have somewhat of a decent following, but we just don't really put a lot of time into our
So
own
I guess
content, I guess.
self-promotion,
Yeah.
which we need to get better at.
Yeah.
It's a journey and a grind, no matter what your niche is. That's for sure. And I feel like if you, I don't know, it is possible to exhaust yourself, I think, if you're trying to do everything, and I kind of, I don't know. I say that from our standpoint, where we have our brand, and media production is what we do for our own brand. And yeah, when you said social media isn't as fun when you're doing it for work, I can relate to that. It's sometimes you're just like, I don't want to get on here.
Yeah.
I also run like, and maybe you can relate to this since you said your guys is like you have to provide the highest quality of content. I am not satisfied with just like I don't know how like influencers just like start taking a video like here's what I'm doing today, everyone. Like all I can think about is like the lighting on this sucks. Like, and I'm like I'm obsessed with only posting the best content. And so it's hard for me to just like bust out day in the life stuff, relatable stuff, because I'm obsessed with like perfection because of in my job, it has to be the best of the best. And so it's hard for me to really, I need to do a better job, I think, of like being more relatable and less obsessed with like it has to be commercial grade,
Well, I think, I mean, as y'all are well aware, you use the word perfection, but that side of everything, having that drive to produce that level of content, it does more for you guys, as you all are well aware, than it would otherwise. So I don't think that's a bad thing. I know my biggest thing that I have to refrain from doing is going back like 2 or 3 years and looking at photos or watching videos that we made 2 or 3 years ago, and I'm just pulling my hair out like, oh, I can't believe we thought this was good.
Yeah.
Because you grow and you develop and everything throughout your journey and stuff. But I'm looking back at stuff, and even though it was great, and it still draws people in, I'm looking at it from a producer's eyes, where it's like, oh my
Right.
gosh, I can't believe that we put this up. And that's the other thing, like you talked about earlier, watching other people's stuff and watching how they edit and stuff like that. There are times I would say I wish I could just watch a hunting show to watch a hunting show, but it doesn't matter who it is or what I turn on. I just find myself paying attention to how they edit, how they cut, how they use music and the lighting and all this other stuff. And, oh, I like that, or oh, I don't know about that. And, I lose focus on the show itself, I feel like. And that's just, I don't know, I guess that's the downfall of being a content creator in the outdoor industry, is you just naturally look at other people's productions through that lens. But it's not a bad thing. It's just sometimes I wish I could watch a hunting show like some other folks do.
Right, like just sit down and relax and turn your brain off and just enjoy it.
Yeah.
I think like some of the stuff that helps us best is like critiques.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
you don't know if you're missing something without like certain critiques, and I think that makes you a better photographer or videographer is when people do like look at your stuff and critique it, and then when you see other people, if you can take the critiques and see other people's point of view, like, oh yeah, I should have done that,
Mhm.
I think that's what makes you a better photographer, in the long run.
Yeah. Well, and if you're the one critiquing too, to do it in a constructive and a positive way too definitely helps, because and I'm the first one to raise my hand and say that I do it, is somebody could be 100% right, but if they come at it from a negative light, you're
Right.
gonna kind of blow them off probably and be like, whatever,
And I
man.
think like we have to do our part as, hunters, when you document some of, what we do, and it's showing it in a positive light,
Yeah.
because it's really easy to show it in the wrong light and give like the anti-hunters like ammunition, by using, video content that other people put out against us.
Yeah.
And that's why it needs to be, professional and respecting the animal. It's because it's really easy to put bad stuff, on social media because you might think it's cool, but I think, give the animal the respect that it deserves, because it's really good at evading hunters.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that. Last week, actually, I recorded an episode with a group called Howl for Wildlife. I don't know if y'all have heard of them, but they're a very active conservation organization for wildlife and hunting, and they work on connecting hunters or those who want to have a say in conservation issues, like at a national or a state level. They work on connecting them with the right avenues they need to actually have their voices heard. Not to get off on that, but one of the things that I talked about with those guys and that they were very, very vocal about was the importance of hunters. Doesn't matter if you're a true all-in content creator or if you just post your kills on social media, whatever it might be, anywhere in between, but how we have to portray hunting in a positive light for that very reason, because they say the antis, it is so easy for them just to pull any picture or pull anything and spin it their own way. But we have our work cut out for us, is basically what it is. We have the harder job, but if we're able to educate people as we put stuff out there, it's only going to help us in the long run. So
100%.
Yeah, for sure.
So what have been some of the biggest struggles that y'all have had, whether it be photography or videography, as y'all have grown in this journey of media production?
Well, my struggles are probably different than your struggles, because mine's more focused on the editing side and yours is on the filming. So maybe you go first.
It's hard to hunt and film, especially if it's just the two of us. It's hard to hunt, film, guide, spot, and make sure everything's just on point. It's a lot of moving parts. And then, with our Kaibab buck, we found our buck the day before season. It took me 9 days to kill him. The first day of season, there's 5 trucks parked right where he was, like right where I found him. And then it took me 9 days to kill him. But like, it's hard. Well, Maddie had the camera like 5 feet from her.
Are you talking about your kill shot?
Yeah.
It was on film.
Yeah, but hear me out. So Maddie spotted these bucks that came into a drainage, and like when they came into the drainage, she's like, "Hey, I found a buck that we should go after. I think the big bucks are going to stay in the drainage because the little ones kind of like popped out over the sides." And I dropped down into the drainage, and sure enough, the buck that I shot, they came down off the top of the hill, and Maddie started filming with her phone.
Okay, let me tell my side of the story. You can't tell my side of the story for me. I was so focused on glassing these deer, because they're also like an aspen forest. So all of a sudden they're there, and like they weren't there, and then they were, and they just blend right in, and it's so thick in there. So I had been watching them for hours, and I was like, I have no idea where they went. They're probably down in this drainage somewhere. So like he went down there and set up, but I'm just obsessed with like, where did they go? Because if they end up going this way, I need to tell him like, hey, never mind. Like they're all the way over there, So I'm just looking everywhere for them, and finally I see them, and I mean, I saw just horns like this, and I'm so absorbed in the binos that I'm like, I'm counting how many there are, like which one is the one he needs to go after. Well, he's all the way down in the drainage. Like I can't help him, like I'm far away. But I was so like absorbed in glassing and the actual hunt that all of a sudden I was like, wait, I'm supposed to be getting this on film. And so then I just all of a sudden, like the camera was probably
7-8 feet, probably.
I would have had to crawl, and I was already in the sunlight, and I was like, I don't want to, they're on the other side of the hill.
They're like directly across the drainage, so she's level with them.
I'm
in the sun,
and I didn't want to, I didn't want to mess anything up for him. So I just had my phone on me, and I was like, I don't know, because there's deer going all along the hillside. I'm like, I don't know where he's at right now. I don't know which deer he's looking at right now. So I was like, I'm just going to start filming. And I literally just picked up my phone and hit record, and then he shoots. And it's just in the corner of like the framing. So it's like a really crappy I didn't even have the mindset to put it in 4K. It was like really crappy cell phone footage. that I tried to work with. You'll see it if you watch my YouTube video. But I was like, at least it's on film. And so we go through this all the time, though, that it's like, if the kill shot isn't on film, nobody cares. And so like, but my kill shot wasn't on film. And it's just like one of those things where you're like, you get so like, honestly, like I would love to go on a hunt that we didn't have to film.
If we had a cameraman.
I just want a cameraman, but like we're trying to do it all. We're hunting, we're guiding ourselves, we're filming it all, and it's like I just want to enjoy and embrace the hunt without having to like be like, oh crap, I didn't get the kill shot on, because it's like that never used to be a thing, and now it's like that's the only thing that matters.
But I love like reliving that as well.
It
just
is
watching that
invaluable.
Video.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. It is self-filming, or even in y'all's case, like you just mentioned, even a duo like that can be challenging, just in making everything happen. That same Colorado hunt that I went on, the mule deer that I killed, I didn't get it on film, like the kill shot itself either. And that was because the two guys that I was with, they dropped me off for the stalk, and they had to park like over a half mile away. So we didn't have any camera gear in the truck that was going to be capable of, filming a shot like that. And I'm putting a stalk on a mule deer with a bow. And to be honest, just the last thing in my mind at that point was like, I was thinking, this is probably my only shot for the whole week. I got to make it count. And the last thing on my mind was trying to film it too. So I understand that grind. It's frustrating. It's kind of funny because that segues me into, and I think I know what the answer is for y'all, but the next question was going to be, video or kill shot, which one takes priority?
Kill shot.
I would take kill shot any day, but it also depends on like what are the circumstances.
Yeah.
Like, day is it? How many opportunities have I had? How many opportunities do I think I'm gonna get? Is it like, are we in like, if it's a whitetail out on our farm, you know what I mean? I'm like, okay, I might opt for getting it on video because I'm, there's a good chance that you're gonna pattern him and you might get another chance. Like, don't screw it up the first time. But if you're somewhere where, you're putting a spot and stalk on a deer that you've never seen before and you don't live there, it's like, you're not gonna ruin that just to get it on film. Like, you got to take your opportunity.
I like the hunt comes first for me. Like, I know a lot of other people, it's like, video comes first, but hunt comes first for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. I really am. And I've seen the hunting shows where, the cameraman, the hunter's, getting ready to draw back or whatever. And he's like, you got him. And the cameraman's like, no, I don't. And they let the animal walk. It can be a huge deer. And I'm pulling my hair out because I'm like, how do you not shoot that deer that's in front of you? But I'm the same way. Kill shot comes first. I had a hunt on my place down here this last year with whitetail. And I had a doe and a fawn and some other critters moving around. I was getting shots of them, from dawn until about the first hour of daylight, I guess I should say. I was getting footage, and then my phone buzzed. It was Nick, who's also hunts out there with me as our production director. He texted me about what he was seeing at his stand, and so I picked up my phone to look at the text message, and when I did that and I set it down, I looked to my left, and there's this buck coming in right there. And at that point, it's the rut. So I'm just like, I'm scrambling to get my bow up and try to get a shot off at this deer, and the camera never got turned back on. I was like, I was filming for an hour, and then the 2 minutes that I needed, it wasn't there. So it is.
Did you kill the buck?
No, so that's a whole nother story. But for me as an archer, it was something I really struggled with, and I've talked about it for our listeners that are returning. I've talked about it on the show before, but this deer is a buck I'd never seen before, and he's one of those, as soon as you see him, you're like, I'm shooting that buck. He's a shooter. And he came in on the backside of my little clearance setup and everything. He was just checking that doe, and he decided it wasn't worth his time, and he was leaving. And so he was in and out, and I gave him a little grunt right as he was leaving, like another step, and I don't have a shot anymore. And I had to guess my yardage, and I guessed 45. And he was 41, and I held higher than I should have for that shot, and so I shot high, and I had impact right there in the no man's land. I'm not proud of that, but we talk about sharing failures and everything, and that was something that ate up me for a while with that one, because I knew the second that I shot and the second my arrow was leaving my bow, I call it my archery brain, slowed everything down. And I knew the second the arrow released that it was going high. I was like, I just messed up. And I was just praying mid-flight that it cleared him, because I wanted a clean miss at that point. And then I heard the smack. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. So, but no, I have a blood tracking dog. We put the dog on him, and we worked him for about 4 hours and nothing. So, yeah, it was.
Yeah, we were talking about this today. Is this out of a tree stand tendency? A lot of people will shoot high.
Yeah.
What I've been doing, like when I draw like straight out, because we go pretty high up in a tree stand. 25 to 30 feet is like a normal height for us. But when I draw straight out, and then I bend at the hip, and I always try to aim for that lower third, almost not quite the white, but like that lower section. And typically I'll always hit just a touch higher than that, from a tree stand. And the majority of, I think, bow misses are going to be high, especially out of a tree stand. So you got to really start aiming just a touch lower than what you actually think. Because even if you aim mid-mass and they flinch just a little bit, you're typically going to shoot a little bit high. So
There's so many. Go ahead. No, go ahead, please.
I was just gonna say, at our archery range, it's like when you're just out practicing with your bow, you're just aiming for the 10 ring, right?
Yeah.
And then like I have to physically get out of, like, when you're holding and you're like, okay, this is right about where I want to hit. I have to train my brain hold lower thirds, because I'm trying to instill that, muscle memory, because when you're in a hunt scenario, you're just aiming mid-mass, because when you target shoot, like, that's where the 10 ring is. And so I'm like, I have to get out of, like, forget about the 10 ring, forget about where, think mid-mass, or like think lower thirds rather than mid-mass.
Yeah. I kick myself because days before this hunt, I had watched, I think it was a video on TikTok. This guy was talking about this, about how you practice for actual bow hunting shots and everything. And he was talking kind of like you have about about all the variables and how shots typically go a little higher. And his advice was, he actually, whenever he's shooting, he comes up on his target from underneath the animal and raises up. And I have never done that, because years ago, 10 years ago now, when I shot competitively, I had this mental block that I couldn't get past, where if I dropped below my target, I couldn't bring it back up. I had to let down and reset and draw again. It was just this, I always had to come in from the top. So because of that, I never in all my archery years have practiced coming up from underneath. But I was like, I'm going to try it. So the next time I went out and shot, I was trying it, and trying to do all that, and I had that in my mind. And then the very next shot opportunity, what did I do? I came in from the top. I dropped down, on top and everything. And I just sitting in the tree stand after it all happened, you're just sitting there like, oh my gosh, you're kicking yourself because you thinking about everything you did wrong. And yeah, there's so many variables with bow hunting, and then bow hunting out of a tree for sure, where you have to be diligent and precise with that shot placement for sure.
We're big into hunting out of our Novix tree stands, but like to me, rather, I'm 37, so like I've never saddle hunted. But like those awkward angles would be hard for me, because it's just not something that I would be used to, shooting, because I'm typically flat-footed, or, but maybe from hunting out of a tree stand for up 10 years, that's just what I'm comfortable with. And it's hard enough, in my opinion, to shoot a deer, flat-footed out of a tree stand, that it is like dangling from a tree from a rope, half backwards, or I don't know. And I would fidget too much. I feel like, I like to sit down, I don't want to be standing the entire time. So, but that's just, I know it's a thing. Everybody talks about, how great it is, how fast they can hang, their set. But I've hunted with other, saddle hunters as well, and to me, they take 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes to set up, their saddle. There's a couple different people that I've hunted with, but I can hang a double set of Inovix in 5 minutes or less.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
It's different for sure. I don't saddle hunt either. I'm down here in Texas where I can't really get that tall up in a tree. I'll get as tall as I can, but and maybe I've had guys tell me that I should saddle hunt because it'll open up different opportunities for me, and they're probably right, but I haven't done it yet. I have one good friend that only hunts public land in Texas, and he's a big time saddle hunter, and he gets way back in there and gets on these trails and everything back in there on public land with saddles that nobody else is in, and he kills a lot of deer and a lot of pigs every year. He's successful with it. So it's just like anything else. If you commit yourself to it and you put in the work, you'll master it eventually. So
I think at this point, though, I can't ever be seen in one because I think I've made fun of them too much to ever be seen in one. I
man,
always call them sex swings, but
it's never too late. I ragged and made fun of Ford trucks for a long time, and now I'm driving a Ford. So you
I
can.
won't hold that. I won't hold that against you. I'm Chevy.
I was all Chevy for a long time. I talked a lot of smack to a lot of Ford owners, and now I'm eating my words. But
Well, the only reason why I hate Fords, I had a Raptor at one point, and once that thing hit 100,000 miles, that thing fell apart on me, and I've held a grudge against Ford ever since. So,
yeah, it's funny how stuff like that'll happen. You'll get and I personally I don't now I don't care what people drive. I think that there's a ton of great vehicles out there, or bows, or tree stands, whatever.
Right.
There's a ton of great brands out there and great product, but it is funny just and I've done it too. One bad experience with something, and you're just like
Right.
never again. I'm that way with a couple different bow brands, and I'm sure they make. I have a buddy that and I won't name the bow brand on the podcast, but he shoots this brand that I very much do not like. Haven't liked him at all ever. It's not Hoyt, I'll say that. But he's like, man, I'm gonna bring my bow over to the house one day and we can shoot. And I was like, yeah, come on. He shows up and he pulls out of the case and he's like, what do you think? He was proud of it, and he was. I was like, it's a good looking bow, man. He's like, you don't like it, do you? I was like, hey, it's not my brand, but if you can shoot it well and you're comfortable with it and you're happy with it, I'm happy for you. I was like,
It's kind of like saying that's a good bow for you.
for you. Exactly. So you talked about your, I'm curious, you mentioned it, your tree stand setup, and you guys getting high up there, 25, 30 feet. In that situation, when y'all are filming, are y'all above each other or in neighboring trees, or what do you try to do?
We'll typically be like that, I would say.
Okay, yeah.
A little bit above it, each other, but typically like look in two different directions if we can.
Yeah.
And I try to get like almost behind the tree. If I think she's going to have like a left-handed shot, I'll set off to her right side. And sometimes I'll have the camera on my right side so I can film that direction. But
I'm just getting excited thinking about it. Like I was just envisioning it, and I was like, I can't wait for September.
I know. Turkey season opens down here in Texas tomorrow, and I'm ready for deer season.
I like that too. I like turkey hunting, but I love deer hunting and elk hunting and mule deer. That's what kind of sets me on fire. Turkey hunting's fun, but turkey hunting's definitely less work. Like it's more just fun.
Turkey hunting, the way I like to describe it is like turkey hunting is fun, deer hunting is a job. And when it comes to especially a target buck, I mean, it's work. And like me and my buddy Jackson, we during the summer months we call it putting in big buck work. Like when we're working on the farm, getting our stuff ready, getting our food plots ready, we like to call it big buck work. So when you're sweating, having a long day, just know you're putting in big buck work.
Absolutely. No, I love that. What's y'all's you mentioned the farm, I think you said. What's that set up like for you as far as where you hunt whitetails at?
So our family, we have a lease. Maddie has some property in Tucker County, West Virginia, which is like real deep mountains, up close, kind of towards Maryland. And but my family has a farm here in West Virginia, and our personal farm really doesn't have the genetics yet. We had a couple good bucks that were good up and comers. Asked the neighbor not to shoot them. The neighbor still shot him after I showed him pictures like, hey, just let this buck go another year. He's like, well, we just don't get bucks, that big around here. I had to shoot him. And it's just like, for what? It's it was on the floor or on the concrete outside skull cap just laying on the ground. And it's just like, man, if you would, he probably would have went Pope and Young the next year, but he has West Virginia was a $3 limit, so you could shoot $2 and then I might shoot the next decent one that has horns. So it's just like, these bucks are like this, future studs, and they just can't get any type of age class. And I like pursuing an old buck. So
Yeah, I understand that. We have, like I mentioned, we have our own property down here that we manage, and that's been a big thing. We're fortunate when there's some hunting pressure, but not a lot from the neighbors, and the property itself is big enough that you can typically hold some big bucks in it. And we've seen definitely in the 3 years we've been working on it, we've seen a definite improvement in the quality of bucks that are out there. But it's like the property holds bucks, which means that when the rut rolls around, we don't have as many bucks. They're venturing out and everything. So it's made for some tricky plans and finagling to try and figure out, well, how are we going to kill these big, smart, mature deer, before the rut. And as far as neighbors go, that you can only control so much. That's what anybody will tell you. You just gotta do your thing and control what you can. But other than that, I try to just hold true to, I don't have to be out there opening day. I can try to hunt the deer for what the deer's doing, as far as daylight and stuff, because I don't think I'm going to be doing myself any favors if I just try to hunt, if that makes sense. And I get that, some people 9-to-5ers, they have the weekends to hunt and that's it. And so that's a little different, but my schedule's pretty unique and I'm able to be a little bit more flexible with it in hunting season. And I try to be, for sure.
Heck yeah.
So, I asked y'all about the tree stand thing because there was this one time that my buddy and I were hunting public land and we hunted in neighboring trees. I was filming for him. He was hunting. He had the tag, hunting whitetail, and we were in neighboring trees for a couple days, trying to get ourselves on a deer. And we ended up moving to this one big tree that in Texas, of all places, allowed us to get 25, 30 feet up. And I laughed I chuckled inside when I heard that because I was filming for him. So I started scurrying up there to get my stuff all set up, and I got 30 feet up. And he's fiddling around with the stand, head down toward the ground the whole time I'm going up. And he looked up and he was like, dude, why are you so high? It's like, you don't need to be up that high. I was like, hey, I want to get, make it worth our while. We got to get up here. And he was a little bit more weird about it than I was, but I like being up that high. I think it's cool.
Yeah, and I think it helps being up that high to avoid your kind of scent wall. I think it kind of blows over top of them a lot, especially big mature whitetails. Man, they're every little thing that you can do to get an edge. And I think going up a touch higher than what most people are comfortable with. Now there are some other people that only go like one stick high, which is something that I want to try. I want to try going like one stick high, setting a stand, 5-6 feet off the ground, and hunting deer that way. And I also want to try water access only. I want to try to find some really remote places that I could hunt whitetails, just water access only. And I think that's something that's on our agenda for this year. So I think we might be able to come up with some cool videos on that.
Mm-hmm.
So, walk me through, because I'm novice to it as well. Walk me through the 5 to 6 feet high thought process behind that?
Just like getting in on, a thick area where it's so thick you can't really, it looks like a really bucky area. And if you get in a good travel corridor and you only have to bring one stick and your stand, um, and you can kind of, I call it squirrel, you can kind of squirrel around a tree to where the majority of you is like kind of hidden behind the tree. And but yeah, basically hunting 5, 6 feet off the ground, just above, almost the brush line. I know of a couple people that's been pretty effective, killing deer that way.
I might have to try that. Like I said, I haven't been able to get up too high in a lot of trees down here in Texas.
I
So
think it'd be one of those things like you definitely probably can't have like camera arms and stuff like that, but you could have GoPros or maybe a GoPro mounted behind you. Um, yeah, I just think it'd be a different, form of hunting, and uh, there's less room for error, but still, when you're elevated like that, it's a lot quieter than, just being on the ground.
yeah,
Um, and it might be an area where you can just go up just a little bit and catch a big mature buck slipping because he doesn't expect you to be in that area. And especially with you being in Texas, it's hard to find trees that are, that can even hold a tree stand in Texas. So um, maybe give that a shot or, a try.
yeah, we have found ourselves for every tree stand setup we have so far, it has been we find the tree and then we work on the area around it to try and make it a huntable or attractive area for deer. Just because I will take hunting in a tree stand over hunting on the ground personally any day of the week. And I just so anytime I find a tree that we can squeeze a stand in, we're doing it. My dad actually, after our second year on the place, he came back. He hunts out there with me, and he was like, "I found the perfect tree. I found a tree for a tree stand." I was like, "Awesome! Where is it?" He's like, "It's 300 yards from camp." Okay, so we put a tree stand in there, and long story short, the biggest buck that we've had on the property, he'd go over 160 whitetail by easily. That was his stand for a little while. He was frequenting that area, 9 a.m. in the morning, 300 yards from the camper and everything. It's like, golly, this is ridiculous. But that's the stand where I had that story I told about shooting that buck and not finding him. That's where it happened too. So
Oh no.
it's crazy. Sometimes there's a purpose and a reason to get back in there and go deep back in there, but lo and behold, we we put a stand 300 yards from the campsite and it holds deer. So you never know what you might find.
It seems like a lot of big deer like structures like that. Like they like to hang around, just a house or a cabin or an old barn. It seems like I don't know what the science is behind it, like, but it seems like a lot of big deer like to be around structures.
I'd buy that for sure. I haven't gotten a picture of this buck in particular, like in the campsite, but I keep a trail camera in the campsite, like on the camper and everything, and I have had pictures of deer and pigs and stuff coming just walking right through the middle of it and everything. Every year it happens, and I always think back to my dad tells a story years back. He was part of a hunt club in South Carolina. And he tells a story about how everybody would go way back in the woods, and there was this one old timer in camp that when everybody would go back, he'd just go sit in a lawn chair with a rifle by the front gate. And he goes, that guy tagged out every
Oh
year.
my God. That's how we
It's
do.
probably hammer a giant too.
Yeah, exactly. Man, I'm kind of bouncing all over the place, and I apologize about that, but I wanted to bounce back to when you guys were talking about that mule deer hunt and how you were out there it took you 9 days to kill that deer. And you mentioned the 5 trucks that were in there opening day. Tell me a little bit more about, I know you already talked about the kill itself, but tell me about that journey and building up into that, because 9 days is a grind hunting one deer, and especially if you have other hunters in there. So I want to hear a little bit more about that experience.
Well, we hunted him in that area for like what, a day, 2 days, and it was just, I mean, we were just getting ran over with people. The opening day, people walked off the mountain just talking. This is 7 a.m. Just talking normal voice, carrying their bows, like nobody else was hunting. Like
They
not a
just gave
care.
up.
Yeah, they
After
gave
an
it
hour.
at 7 a.m. Just completely gave up. So we eventually just like, hey, we're just gonna leave this. It was a burn area, and we got to leave this burn area for a while. And so we did, and we found some decent bucks here and there. Maddie actually put a stock on a 200-inch typical. She got to what was it?
This was a different time than the other one that I messed
Yeah,
up.
she got to 86 yards on that one, and man, he was a stud.
Yeah, that one, like, we ran into a guy that actually had 9 guys with him. He was the only one with a tag, but he
Oh
had
yeah.
9 guys with him just to help him glass
Yikes.
and like help him get. And I was like, man, I was like, we don't have enough friends. Like, I was like, if I had more friends, I definitely would have recruited more people to come out here. And that's just what it takes. You draw this once, twice in a lifetime tag, and that you want to make the most of it. So like, he wasn't coming there planning on
Yeah,
leaving
he was.
empty-handed.
He wasn't.
I never really found out if
He
did you
did.
talk to him? I don't know if he ever got one or not.
No. I'm not 100% sure if it was him or not, but I thought his name was Jack Brittingham.
Yeah, I was.
Um, I haven't reached out to him yet, but I want to find out.
I think
It wasn't his tag though.
he was one of the guys
Guy.
glassing.
Yeah.
It was his buddy that got attacked, but yeah, it kind of it was a lot different type of hunting. I mean, you're familiar, but like it was like, we kind of glassed and had our buck picked out that we wanted to go after, and then whenever that doesn't work out, it's like
Back to the
back to
drawing.
the drawing board. It's like you
Yeah.
spend 2, 3, 4 days just glassing again.
Yeah.
It's not, you don't just go out and start walking through the woods hoping that you see a deer. It's like you're really trying to like
Hone in on a specific. I mean, granted, there's going to be a bunch of really good bucks that you might intercept in between then, but I like to go after a particular buck, and like, we kind of had our mindset on him, and
that was how we had the most successful. The close encounters were from like kind of like you said earlier, not just hunting just to hunt. Like we didn't just
Right.
go kind of say, oh, this looks like a good spot, I'm going to sit here. If it would have been a drier year, we probably would have sat water, but it wasn't a good time to just sit water. So we kind of just our most successful opportunities were when we just kind of sat back and glassed and waited till we had an opportunity to pursue and make the most of it. And that's how we had our most success.
Yeah. So, you're talking about wanting to go after specific bucks and that kind of thing. What do you just know it when you see it, or do you go out there knowing, no, I have an inch in mind or an age in mind, or do you just know it when you see it?
I always like, it's not so much, I like to pursue the most mature buck that I can find. I think that's one thing, I want one that has a big old saggy belly on him, big chest, but character and frame and stuff like that plays a factor as well.
Right.
So
I think it depends on, where, like, if it's your first mule deer, like for me, I was like, this is my first mule deer hunt. Like, I was like, I just want to shoot the first decent buck I see. And Britton was like, we don't come to the Kaibab to shoot a decent buck. He's like, like this is where you come. This is where the giants live. So I kind of had to get, out of that. Once you've got, it's like whitetail, once you've gotten several under your belt, you start to kind of like up what, your preference, I
Average,
guess.
or-
Yeah.
You want to try to get better, and so to us, it was kind of like, what's a,
owner or bust.
yeah, what's it worth it?
Because like West Virginia, there's to have a 150s is a giant for West Virginia.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, there is bigger deer here for sure, but it's like to have a 150s, that's a pretty big deer for West Virginia. But like we knew going to the Kaibab, it's just like we weren't going to come off that mountain unless it was a stud. And it took it took me 9 days to kill my buck. It took Maddie 14 days total to kill hers. But we had to leave on I had to leave on that 14th day to get back for another job. And Maddie was just going to stay there by herself. And like, there's not too many females that would just stay there, hunt by yourself. And I had 100% confidence in her. She'd be perfectly fine. She's an amazing outdoors woman. I was like, you're,
Outdoorsman's fine.
I don't know the proper pronunciation.
I
Yeah,
don't either.
what's
I
the?
don't know.
But yeah, she wanted to stay longer. But it was very last morning, our last hour of our very last morning, and she ended up shooting a buck. There's a doe came in behind us, and she busted. And when she busted, like we kind of turned around, and the buck that was with her was only looking at the doe, had no idea that we were there. And Maddie was able to get a shot. It was like what, 24 yards?
Yeah.
Wow.
It all
What?
worked out.
So then it was a race to skin it, cape it.
And make our flight.
Well, skin it, cape it, debone it, get it in the cooler. Mind you, just
No, like photo shoot.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
still
then,
got to create content.
and then we had to hustle to get to the airport. We dropped our we took the meat with us, and dropped the head
Heads and hides.
head and hides off at the taxidermist and caught our flight by like literally minutes, like
Wow.
not even.
Like I said, we're very last minute.
Hey, bring it down to the wire as long as you can make it. Hunt while you can, you know?
Yeah.
That's true. But she was fully committed on staying. Like if we didn't tag out, she was just gonna. The season we had like another 4 or 5 days left.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, you don't draw this tag and then leave early.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, I'm not gonna leave here knowing that I didn't put everything into it that I could have. Like if it's the last day of season and you don't tag out, it's like, okay, you can't say you didn't try. But I was like, I'm not gonna go home and sit on the couch and think, I could be out there trying. So I was like, I'm just gonna give it all I got.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. What in the archery world, when y'all are preparing or gearing up for a hunt like this, what's that look like as far as your preparation as an archer, and what would you say your comfortable killing range would be out there with a bow?
That's a good question. Honestly, I have my duffel over there packed. I don't think it ever really gets unpacked. Like, I think my Easton duffel and my Grizzly duffel are still packed from last year's trip. Like, if they still have all my camo in it. I try to keep all that stuff separate and out of the house and scent and stuff. But as far as gear goes, we work with some really great companies that keep us geared up and stay pretty organized. And that stuff pretty much just never comes.
It's
It
almost like a
always
grab
just-
bag.
Yeah, it's like a grab and go thing. Like I don't really come home and unpack. It's just like I just drop my bag off in the garage and get it again the next time. For the most part, I have everything I need in there.
But he was asking about your effective like kill range. Like, what do you do to prepare?
So I think my bow, which I just got a new sight and setup, so I'm trying to really push my limits on distance, but my effective kill range, it also depends. If it's an elk, I think I would take a shot at 60 to 65, maybe 70, depending on the circumstances. But a whitetail, my effective kill range would be 40 to 50. Not that I would want to take a shot like that, but I
Right.
could. I feel confident that I could if I had to. As far as just like distance shooting, we push ourselves up to like 100 yards, but like, we don't ethically always feel like that's, appropriate to take a shot like that. But, when you shoot at 100 yards, it makes 40 yards feel like 20.
Yep.
It makes 60 yards feel like 40. So we kind of train like that.
I think like when you're shooting 100 yards, and you're like, say you want your effective kill range to be 50 yards. I think practicing at 80 to 100 yards regularly, it's almost like whatever half your distance is. If you're practicing at 80 to 100, your 50-yard pin should be like money.
Yeah.
And I would say my effective kill range is probably 60, and then for an elk, I would say 80 to 100. I mean, I typically here in our backyard, I have like an elk target. It's 126 yards, and I shoot that. I don't know. I probably send 4 or 6 arrows at it a week. But like leading up to before a hunt, like I'll only shoot 1 arrow at like 60 or 80 yards. Because in my opinion, you're only as good as your first arrow. So if like that first shot, make it count, and being able to pick your bow up, knock an arrow, shoot, and 12 ring it at 60 yards. I think that is to do that every morning, leading up to a hunt. I think that's a good piece of advice is like try to make your one single arrow shot 60 yards, and I think you'll have more success. It's not like dusting your bow out. You haven't shot it since last year. Take it to your hunt. I definitely think practicing and preparing for success, and knowing exactly what your bow is going to do is super important, especially doing, a big hunt, a big draw hunt.
I couldn't agree more. The past 5 or 6 years, I've really had a big push personally to, shoot long distance and be able to hunt long distance, not necessarily for whitetail, but mainly out west. And so I'm always curious. That's why I ask. I'm always curious what other people's routines are or mindsets are as far as, what they practice at and what they're comfortable killing at. Because I've gone back and forth, either with both of those as far as just also kind of depending on the year and what I'm hunting. But I know I was practicing pretty far out there for this mule deer hunt this last year, and I ended up shooting him at 28 yards. And I was like,
20, I was like, I didn't really need to do all that, I guess.
that's how I felt. It was kind of a roller coaster because I was shooting 80, 100. And that week is when I had my mishap with that whitetail at 41. And so, and the week after that, I'm going to Colorado. I'm like, man, I can't even kill a whitetail at 40 yards. How am I supposed to kill a mule deer at 80, And
Right.
then lo and behold, 28 yards. I was like, all right, I'll take this. Thank you, Lord.
That buck I shot at the kite, it was 68 yards.
Wow.
It was over top of an aspen tree, and he was like a half a step from like being gone forever. Like literally, his front shoulder was pretty much completely covered by aspens, and I just remember holding the pin like right at the bottom of his heart. And when I let off, I felt like it was just a touch lower than what I wanted. But when I got up and saw the arrow, I saw like hair first, and then I think I found no, I saw hair first, and then I looked down the trail, and it was literally just painted,
Oh,
and
wow.
ended up the arrow right after I found the hair. But man, it was just, I mean, painted, and ended up 12 ringing him, just heart punch 68 yards.
Wow. That's awesome. It's an impressive shot for sure. Well, I wanted to, before we wrap up our time in my episode with you guys, I wanted to ask y'all, you have a lot going on. Y'all are very successful at what you do as far as content creation and everything. But whether it's with a camera in hand or just an experience as a hunter, what are some hunts that you guys really want to go on that you haven't had an opportunity to do yet?
Don't say Russia. Is that what you're going to say?
Russia.
Britton's been dying to go to Russia.
I want to hunt a moose in Russia.
A moose is
Yeah, they have like prehistoric like looking moose
Oh,
in
wow.
Russia. Um, yeah,
I would say mine would be moose too, but I don't really want to
Alaska.
go to Russia. Yeah, I've never been to Alaska, so I feel like, I want to explore the whole United States before I really want to go to Russia.
Normally when you hear Russia, you think those big Russian boars or something is like the most popular, or at least over here,
they
what
have
people
like
most commonly refer to, I'd say. But
they have
Right.
some giant grizzlies, giant moose. I'm not big into sheep hunting yet, but like I could definitely get behind it because I know it's like a grind. I just know that like once I commit to it, it's like there's no looking back. So I want to pursue some more big game first, but yeah, that's a bucket list of mine. That's like if I was to say my dream hunt, is it that or Saskatchewan whitetail?
Yeah.
One of those two.
yeah,
We just really like traveling and going to new places and, learning different states and different areas, and that's all fun to us.
that's awesome. Well, what is next though? I know you kind of briefly in passing mentioned a couple trips and stuff this year, but what's in the editing room right now, and what are you guys most looking forward to for 2024?
In my editing room right now is we just filmed some tonight, but I'm really trying to post more stuff on my YouTube, kind of more geared to like specifically female hunters or just beginner bow hunters, youth bow hunters. Because kind of something that like my dad was a very avid bow hunter and I just grew up in it from a very young age. And I just kind of think about it sometimes and I'm like, if you didn't grow up in it and your dad's not, and maybe, like you're a female, maybe you don't have a boyfriend who's into it. Like to me, it's like everybody, like nobody's smarter than you. They just have more experience. And whenever I'm a really big fly fisherman, I know I'm like a really big nerd because in college everybody was out partying and I was like in the fly fishing club. And like I struggled with fly fishing so much because there's just a wealth of information that's like not really necessary to know right now. It's like I just need to know how to catch one fish and then I can build from there.
Right.
But I felt like, not to get off topic about fly fishing, but like I could talk about that a lot. But it's just it's hard to learn because you don't know where to start and it's overwhelming. And I just remember going and never catching a fish and doing it all wrong. And like finally I just paid to go on like a guided thing. And I was like, I just need somebody to show me because like you watch all these videos and it's just, and I just went one time with this girl who's a fly fishing guide and she's one of my really good friends now. And it was like, it just clicked like that. And it was like, all I needed was somebody to just break it down and be like, don't worry about all this over here. That's not important. This is how we're fishing today. And this is all you need to know. And it's just, it's really been beneficial. So something that I'm trying to curate in my editing room, I guess, is videos that pertain more to like beginner bow hunters, female bow hunters, getting people started, tips and tricks, stuff like that. I'm just passionate about, getting people hooked on the outdoors and interested in it. If you don't have somebody to teach you, I'm going to try to do more stuff like that.
For sure.
Sorry, I kind of geeked out on fly fishing for a second.
No, I mean, that's great, and that's it's applicable to so many other things too, and we need more people that are mentors like that in whatever the subject itself might be, because we talked earlier about, being educational and intentional with our content and stuff like that, and that's how you do it for sure.
Yeah, I guess as far as trips coming up, we have turkey hunting. We're going to be in Florida doing some turkey hunting. We'll have turkey season here in West Virginia. We're going to go back to Hawaii this summer and hunt axis deer again. And then putting in for some draws will, I guess, depend on really what we do for September. But we'll be somewhere elk hunting for sure.
Awesome.
We're undecided yet, but we're trying to figure out the draw, and it's like, it's a lot. And we're really debating on like getting an app or somewhere that puts in for the draws, because in my experience I've missed the draw by a day, and then so now I got to wait an entire year to try to get another tag, and then that type of stuff sucks when some of these tags take years and years to draw, and then if you miss it by a day, which I've done it I think twice, literally missed two separate draws by a day, and so that just kind of just puts you behind.
Yeah.
But, we like just finding over-the-counter tags in some of these states and being able to, travel and hunt. And like Arizona is good because not only does it have really good, deer, you're also able to get tags that are over-the-counter, but they have draw units, was what we drew, and it was some of the best hunting we've ever had. So
yeah, no, you can do a lot with those for sure. Well, last question that I'll ask you guys before we wrap up our conversation here on the podcast is on behalf of our any aspiring media production or content creators listening to this episode, any big lessons learned or pieces of advice that you would like to pass on to them, somebody aspiring to do what you guys are doing?
I would say,
don't drop your lens out of a tree stand.
I did that twice.
Britton dropped our 70 to 200.
Twice.
That's like a $3,000 lens. I'm sure you know that. But
Yeah.
pretty big deal. Make sure your gear is, tree stand ready. backup, everything, to, like dual SD cards.
I didn't think that's what you were gonna go.
Where were you going with it? That was the first thing that came to my mind because I'm mad that that's not our language.
She's got a reason.
I would say, any content is better than no content, and getting started somewhere. A GoPro, like, start there. To be able to go back and relive your own hunts, you might, have a GoPro on your bow, shoot, and then drop your bow down and then forget to film with it. But it's still, you might be able to get the, initial kill shot, or just be able to document your hunts and document it in a positive manner, because we don't want to give antis ammunition to showcase us in like a negative light. So I would say, yeah,
start somewhere. Don't be like, a perfectionist. Like I struggle with that. Like it has to be perfect. I'll start whenever it's, going to be perfect. Like just get started. That's the first step to being great at anything, is just start.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Well, guys, tell our listeners real quick before we hang it up where they can find y'all and follow along.
Yeah, we're on Instagram and Facebook, and we're on YouTube now. Our hunting page is FST Outdoors, and my YouTube channel is Maddy Hunts.
Maddy Hunts.
Is it Maddy Dot Hunts or Maddy Hunts?
I think it's just Maddy Hunts.
Okay.
It's either
Her Instagram is at Maddy Dot
You'll find it. It's easy.
But...
look for the high quality videos.
Yeah, it's FST Outdoors.
FST Outdoors.
FST
our Instagram
Outdoors.
page. So we try to post on our stories as regular as we can, during hunting season, to like when our viewers, might be at work or something, we try to like bring them along with us on the hunt, show them the highs and the lows, so they're almost like they're hunting with us, from our stories and stuff, and we try to update it as regular as we can. But yeah, definitely check us out, and appreciate you having us on your show.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It was awesome getting to know you guys and talking with y'all. I appreciate you guys accepting the invite, and yeah, doing so on such short notice too. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Well, for our listeners, thank y'all for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure that you follow and subscribe, on whatever platform you're listening on, and I'll be back with you guys again next week for another podcast. Thanks for listening.